Okay.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. I'm so pleased that you were able to join us today. I apologize for all the technical difficulties, but I think we're really ready to get started, and I hope this time gave you a chance to eat your lunch, which is always nice. I am very pleased to introduce Father Mahenintsoa Rakotomanadafy, also known as Father Ma. And please forgive me. I did the best I could with my pronunciation. Father Ma is from the city of Antsirabe in the center of Madagascar. He started his priestly formation in 2006, made his first profession on September 29, 2009, and his final vows on September 17, 2018. He was ordained on March 16, 2019 in Antananarivo, Madagascar. In 2012, Father Ma graduated from the St. Paul Institute in Madagascar with a degree in philosophy. In 2017, he received a degree in theology from the Catholic University of Madagascar. Since 2023, he has been studying in Rome in one of the general government's programs to learn about Father Dehon's life, his social and spiritual work, and the founding of the Priests of the Sacred Heart. As a student in the program, Father Ma has also contributed to systemizing the congregation's archive, transcribing and translating many originals of Father Dehon's personal papers. Father Ma has said this about his Dehonian studies. When I try to understand Father Dehon's thinking, I find that what he did and what he wanted to show for his disciples can be summarized in the word reparation. That concept has been established as one of the pillars of Dehonian spirituality. It concerns Father Dehon's whole testimony and the Dehonian lifestyle. We are very interested in hearing more about your studies. Please join me to welcome Father Ma.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm very pleased to be with you today to give you this presentation. I would like to thank the library for sponsoring this talk. It is my hope that with this talk you can better understand some part of Father Dehon's ministry and Dehonian spirituality. During the last presentation of Father Faustino, you remember, he was talking about the word or concept rifacimento. A question was asked to me if there is a Dehonian word which is near that word in terms of target and signification. So, with pure intuition, my answer was the word reparation. That's why I thought of preparing a little presentation concerning the concept of reparation, reflecting on the life of Father Dehon, his social and spiritual work, his devotion to the Sacred Heart. I have decided to take the following sentence as the title of this presentation: Making Reparation, Transforming the World through the Heart of Jesus. On the first part of the presentation, I'd like to make accents on Father Dehon's social sensibility. Father Dehon began his ministry in St. Quentin in November 1871. With his quality of being open-minded and receptive, he easily established relations with people of different social and economic classes. In fact, two classes of inhabitants existed in the city where he lived. The first, who had the whip in their hands, were the middle class, such as merchants, landowners, magistrates. The second were the workers, who were in bad conditions and miserably paid. The youth were in a lamentable situation. They didn't have a leader. After spending their energy on hard work, during which their health was sacrificed. They indulged themselves in drunkenness as a sort of release from suffering. It was a real scourge when youth are disoriented, without hope of a brilliant future. Girls and women underwent the same challenges and conditions. Father Dehon pointed his attentions to those woes in society. His preoccupation was not only the ministry in the church, but the general life of the youth, the workers. As he said to his parents in his notes in December 1871, and getting a close hand look at the woes of society in the confessional, in visit to the sick, in the schools, I'm trying to bring some kind of remedy, especially for the moral woes. Through that affirmation, we can see how he doesn't allow something wrong to happen without being personally touched and affected, and always looking for solutions. Now, let's look at how Dehon manifested his social reparation for society's problems. Among his hard work and laying the foundation for social change and justice, let's focus on only 3 points: the foundation of the St. Joseph Youth Club, his participation in many congresses of workers, and his humble identity as most famous interpreter of the social encyclical of Leo XIII, Rerum Novarum. When he was a chaplain, he founded the St. Joseph Youth Club because he was in charge of teaching catechism to boys, to be their leader in prayer and the reception of the sacraments. Those activities become regular and attractive with many collaborators. In January 1875, there were 440 members of the club. The youth club had 2 groups, the young boys and the circle of workers. As part of the spiritual concerns, the members were introduced to other activities, such as painting, reading, conferences and studies, some hobbies, in order to prevent their minds from being inactive. The workers' circle was a part of the Catholic circle movement started in 1871 by Latour Dupin et Albert de Moon. They formed an association of workers in order to take some responsibility for the horrible work situation that they witnessed. They were especially concerned about knowing all about the worker, his or her rights, working condition, including working hours. The circle also demonstrated why a union of labor was necessary and dialogue with owners helpful to improve the lives of workers. In fact, they believed work should not be focused solely on working with no interruptions and getting paid. It is about living as human beings. So with dignity and integrity for families and society, and to take care of their needs to maintain their own lives, they should live with some moral prescription. His care, his human and spiritual maturity, and the hand of God guided his actions to repair a depraved society. The youth club is the greatest expression of charity, and it manifests the idea of social reparation, transforming the lives of others, contributing to their human and spiritual improvement, and pure imitation of Christ's ministry. apart from his travels around the world, he traveled to almost all the cities in France which had meetings of the congresses of workers and their related associations. This is once more a proof of his concerns, his interaction for the improvement of life in society. We can say that through his involvement in the Congress and travels, he repaired by interacting. One of the greatest part of Dehon's life and ministry is his interaction with people within the world. He participated in many congresses of workers in France, the General Assembly of Circles in Paris, the Congress of Nantes, Lyon, of Reims, and all the many assemblies regarding social improvement. Those congresses pushed step by step the union of the workers to bring some reforms and denounce social injustice. Members of the Congress called for an appropriate reaction from the state to correctly reorganize a society which had been destroyed by capitalism, the workers exploited, and a few had taken responsibility for improving things. It concerned also the church, who should have been the one to act, but lacked the enthusiasm and sensitivity or open-mindedness to the reality that existed. That's why many solutions proposed by the Congress were the only remedy available. The creation of associations who work to defend the rights of workers by fighting for fair contracts, just working conditions, creation of laws for workers within the government, and creation of a group of syndicates. Moreover, the formation and education of the people were important. The Congress also fought for accessibility to schools and education. Father Dehon worked to spread the message of Rerum Novarum and to be its interpreter. The 9 conferences in Rome were a sign of his huge consideration for the Pope's intentions. The encyclical Rerum Novarum was written by Leo XIII in 1891 as a creation, reaction, and position of the Church about the social and economical situation of the world, especially in Europe. During his conferences in Rome, published in his book Manuel Social Chrétien, Father Dehon tried to interpret and transmit the message of the encyclical. He denounced social evils, the problem of workers, and talked about the need of a social reform. The interpretation of Rerum Novarum is a continuation of his important vision for the society. For example, criticizing the socialism, the Pope affirmed that private property arises from natural law, but that is also a social function. Bosses and workers have reciprocal rights and duties. Regarding this, Father Dehon states that public and private prosperity should be promoted over capitalism, and that the rights of workers should be safeguarded. Also, the workers have the right, according to strict justice, to a salary guaranteeing them a human standard of living. As a consequence, class struggle was condemned, and workers have the right to form unions to defend their rights, even resorting to strikes. In this matter, Father Dehon was above all a guide, a reliable director of consciences. He knows how to awaken people's minds and to maintain, encourage, and prevent dangers. He was the ideal student of redemption, and Reparation consider all Dehon's motivations as something which were animated by pure love and pure imitation of Christ's ministry. He inherited that love from the Sacred Heart. The social work of Father Dehon is such an act of redemption, which means salvation or recreation. His work can recreate a world in deterioration, can repair the disfigured image of Christ by claiming peace, unity, and respect for human dignity. For the second part of the presentation, I will share with you the meaning of reparation in the spiritual thinking of Father Dehon. Conscious that many Christians' virtues had disappeared after the Revolution, Father Dehon was animated by the revelations of the Sacred Heart, by the orientations of the French schools of spirituality, and many messages regarding the apparitions of the Virgin Mary. He summarized his availability for serving God in the concept of oblation. The oblation of Christ become our oblation when we intend by oblation a real accomplishment of reparation. In his books, Crown of Love, Dehon resumes sharing all he intends regarding the word reparation by an eternal devotion, oblation to the Sacred Heart, and in transforming daily life as a continual Ecce Venio. Here I am. The book is focused on many sequences of meditations, exhortations, and resolution, which is a little prayer of conclusion. It shows similarities with the prayer of the Rosary, but Dehon tries to show considerations, honor to the Sacred Heart, and the mysteries of the Incarnation, the mysteries of the Passion, and the mysteries of the Holy Eucharist. That act of love presents Jesus Christ as the incarnation of a real reparation according to the will of God. Christ's oblation was manifested by his unconditional offering to God. Oblation is a renewal of sacrifices that were symbolized by the immolation of animals. Christ offered himself as a sacrifice in his total willingness to submit to the will of God. The concept of victim is explained in total acceptance in order to fulfill only God's desire. So, before being a total offering, the oblation is an ability, a time dedicated to knowing His will in order to able to fulfill it. The reasons for the oblation are the glory of God and the fulfillment of God's promise, that of saving humanity. With the Ecce Venio, Christ becomes a victim for God and a victim for humanity. This reflection shows the different meaning and consequences of Christ's Ecce Venio. The act means the perfection of the virtues, perfect love and adoration that show the oblation for the glory of God. The Ecce Venio means reparation for the imperfect sacrifices of men since the time of the fall. This reparation is symbolic of the perfect charity that comes from the heart of Christ. Father Dehon wants to highlight the characteristics of the heart of Christ to show that an oblation is above all based on pure and perfect love, with no particular interest other than the glory of God and the salvation of humanity. That is nothing of oneself has meaning except in humility and annihilation before the will of God, Echevenio is an act of love, reparation, and obedience. The temporary fact of Jesus' life pass and leave mysteries, but his oblation is a continual rebirth, because there are many generations who need salvation. Echevenio is seen as a simple word, but its greatness marks the common act of faith and the special or personal act. We cannot find another definition of pure love and reparation without imitating the way by which Christ accomplished his oblation. The life of oblation with Echevenio of Christ is intended to center attention, affectivity, difficulties, joy, and all aspects of life to the will of God. Jesus is the model of total abandonment to God. Finally, how can we understand Father Dehon's thinking about our oblation? Christ's oblation is perfect, and we must imitate it without detaching ourselves from Christ. The crown of love reveals that we are also offered the opportunity to commit ourselves as a sacrifice to God. Our imperfection does not give us the dignity of directly presenting our sacrifices to God. We will pass through Christ, the recognition of his sacred heart, to create the union of sacrifice with Christ. In this dignity, as soon as Son of God, obedient, self-giving in a definitive way, Christ possesses the fulfillment of the perfection of the sacrifice. Let us then unite our sacrifice to that of Christ, because with him we will find the grace of perpetual sacrifice, the grace of faithfulness in submission to the will of God. In the crown of love, Dehon tried to signify the oblation through acts of reparation. He exhorted his disciples to recreate the world through devotion to the Sacred Heart. Imitate his pure and unconditional love, multiply the homage granted to the Sacred Heart according to the messages of his revelations, and repair through prayers and acts of penance the sin of the world. Sacrileges on the Eucharistic, the indifference of consecrated people, as well as social injustices, through our chances of being illuminated by the teaching of Father Dehon, let us ensure that this repair begins where we are, in the family, at work, in society, in communities, to make the Sacred Heart reign in our world. Thank you.
Did anyone have any questions for Father Ma?
Father, don't.
I was cautioned against asking a stupid question, so no, very nice, thank you, Father Ma, I appreciate that. Bravo.
If someone has a question or somebody else.
Okay, well, I have a question for you then. Okay, so you're studying in Rome at the Dehonian Institute, correct?
Yes.
And how long has this institute been in existence?
Since maybe 2000, I don't know the story. Because Andrea Polo was there, and he was there in 2005. So surely before 2005.
Okay, and how many of your Malagasy brothers are in Rome studying with you?
In Rome, only me.
Only you.
But we are three. In Rome, we are three students, one from Mozambique, one from Madagascar, and one from Brazil. And our director is Father Victor. He is from Brazil.
He's from Brazil as well. Again, the Brazilian connection, I see.
You called him the interpreter of Rerum Novarum. Can you say a little bit more about how important that role was? That he was the interpreter of the Rerum Novarum. Just anything more about?
Okay, he was the interpreter of Rerum Novarum. It is, as we know, a social encyclical. And I said in my paper, it was a reaction to the situations, to many situations of the society and the economy. There were something wrong, injustice, and many situations out of control. And the encyclical of Leo XIII was a reaction for that situation of the society. And Dehon, before Rerum Novarum, he worked with, I said on my paper, Latour du Pin, a Frenchman, and Léon Armel, Albert Dumoul. So we can say there were three Leo. Leo XIII, Leo Dehon, and Leo. They worked for the society. Before Rerum Novarum, Dehon was concerned about the situation in the society. As I said, when he was chaplain in Saint-Quentin, he saw that there are many problems in the society. There are many bad conditions of the workers, the youth. And after Rerum Novarum, he was chosen. We can say that. He was chosen by Leo XIII as an interpreter of his encyclical, because he has many audiences with the Pope, with many popes, and he has these ambitions of changing things in the society, of presenting his idea, his maybe project for the society. So he was in the same way to the Pope, in the same missions. That's why we can say that his conferences in Rome was considered by the real interpretation of Rerum Novarum.
Just a simple question. What is a Crown of Love book? Can you just short?
Crown of Love is a book. We can say book because we see the three books. But in reality, it is a meditation. Meditation of Father Dehon about the life, the mystery of the life of Christ. And it takes a form of rosary. We have many meditations of, I said, the Passion, the Eucharist, and the Incarnation, the three big points of Crown of Love. So Father Dehon tried to share some meditations, and he organized the books as the organization of a rosary, first mystery, second mystery, and third. And we have three books of Crown of Love, in which we can explain and we can we can see a real explanation of the own spiritual, where it comes from, what is the target of his spirituality, and what he wants has to do. Thank you.